Between the DMV hairstylist Jayla Cunningham or Jayla Amora on TikTok dragging her 15-year-old client over a miscommunication in payment, and the UK hairstylist kicking a client out of her home salon because the client was cold and asked to put her shoes on, we need to have a much needed conversation about the state of Black hairstyling, not just in America, but across the pond. Because stylists, are y'all good? Like, no, better question. Women and girls who are seeking the services of these stylists, especially Black hairstylists, are y'all good? Like, are y'all okay? Are we okay? The answer is clearly no, and it's time to talk about it. Aloha, beautiful humans. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back if we've been locked in. My name is Sasha, and today we are just talking about an increase in what I have noticed to be horrible traumatic experiences, all in the name of getting your hair done. Do I think that horrible hair experiences, salon horror stories, and hair trauma are exclusive to Black women and it is being doled out exclusively at the hands of Black hairstylists? No. Now, before I get this video started, I am just going to address this. This is not a space to leave horrible, disparaging, racist comments about Black women. I really don't like about talking about certain in-community issues on a space like the internet, because it does leave room and opportunity for people to stereotype us, to be racist towards us, to be discriminatory towards us, to be prejudiced towards us. So this is a space to just have a candid conversation. It is not a space to, again, devolve to stereotypes. I fully recognize that every community has their own issues, and Black women do not own the monopoly on trauma when it comes to getting our hair done or horrible customer service experiences. We do not have the monopoly on that, and I do think in part why we are seeing a lot of these experiences occur on social media is just because social media, it is an amplifier. It is an amplifier of things happening in the real world where people can share their experiences in real time, and other people are receiving it and watching it in real time. This is really the first time in the history of our existence as human beings where we are able to immediately receive the thoughts, feelings, perspectives, and opinions of billions of people and have it at your fingertips. I recognize that because of my algorithms, I am a Black woman, so my algorithm is attuned to, it is fine-tuned to mostly the Black woman experiences, and I follow mostly Black women on TikTok, on social media. So I also recognize that what is coming across my For You page is reflective of who I'm following and generally the type of content that I'm interacting with. That being said, I do not hear often these experiences from white women, from Asian women, from Latina women, and from Asian Pacific Islander women, from women of other racial and ethnic groups. And the fact that this is happening with Black women dealing with hairstylists across the pond, I do think that there are several things happening in real time that kind of explain and account for what we are experiencing, what a lot of Black women are experiencing when it comes to a lot of these newer aged Black hairstylists. So that was my disclaimer before we even get into the video. If you are a hairstylist and you are watching this and you do not engage in this type of activity, your customer service is on par, you've never had a customer in your salon experience this, kudos to you. I don't want this video to be a generalization. This is not going to be a stereotype. So please do not get in my comments and accuse me of doing these things. I'm just speaking to something that I have seen creep up, especially after this post-COVID stage where customer service is on the decline. And when it comes to specifically Black hair care, the experience Black women and girls are having at hair salons, it is very disturbing for me to see, and considering that I have been on the receiving end of this behavior on more than one occasion, I want to talk about this and kind of start a conversation on how we can go about fixing this as a community and the options that exist for Black women, because we should not have to deal with this when it comes to something as simple as getting our hair done, especially when no other racial or ethnic category or group has to deal with this from their own when it comes to getting our hair done. So let's get right into the video. Actually, no, I wanted to make another disclaimer, because when I talk about this a lot on social media, people will say, just do your own hair. I am natural. I'm what most people would call a straight natural, meaning that I do not get perms. I do not get relaxers. My hair is just how it grows out of my scalp. However, I mostly wear it stretched or straight. So I am what you would call a straight natural. I went natural back in 2011 or 2012. I went natural. I didn't do the big chop. I just kind of, for every inch my hair grew, I would cut off an inch. So grow an inch, cut an inch, grow an inch, cut an inch. And in about like 2 or 3 years, that transformation was complete. So I didn't go through the big chop process. But anyways, when I talk about this, so often people will belittle or dismiss my experience. Oh, this is why I went natural, or this is why I do my own hair, or learn how to do your own hair. I am natural. I do know how to do my own hair. It is just that sometimes I don't want to have to do my own hair. I can braid my own hair, but sometimes I do not want to spend the 7 to 10 hours braiding my own hair. So I will go to somebody else to do it. And I find that response to be often very invalidating and dismissive, because it's almost as if you are blaming a Black woman for being on the receiving end of terrible customer service, trauma, and abuse, simply trying to get our hair done when no other group has to experience this. And obviously, most women, I'm not going to say all Black women, I'm going to say most Black women know how to do their own hair. We're not in the hair salon every single day paying somebody to do our hair for us. The vast majority of us do our own hair and know how to do our own hair. It is just that we may want to go out and receive a service, and I don't understand why we should either A, expect abuse when we are receiving these services, or B, just completely forego altogether a luxury we might want to partake in, a simple luxury as something as small as getting our hair done, and making it so it is our fault, as if we sign up for abuse by wanting to just simply get our hair done. And so I just wanted to say, I know how to do my own hair. Please do not drop down in the comments and say, just do your own hair. I know how to do my own hair. I do my own hair the vast majority of the time. 97% of the time, if my hair is done, I'm doing it myself. And also, I am natural. So telling women to go natural or just get locks, that may not be a style that they want to partake in. And our styles shouldn't be limited to certain hairstyles that do not involve any professional level of treatment. You know, I don't know why we set up or low-key demand and expect Black women to receive less and expect less. Like, that's not fair to Black women. And I find this response coming from other Black women to be really dismissive. So those were my disclaimers. Let's get into the video. So if you are not on TikTok, if you're not on social media, the two stories that I am talking about, you may be like, Sasha, what the heck are you talking about? So I'm going to drop the videos here. This is the first video. So this first incident took place across the pond in the UK. Katie Crissell posted this video on TikTok, and in the video she describes how her hairstylist Mulan's hair reacted to her and responded to her when she just asked to put her shoes on because she was cold, and this is what transpired.
I don't need this energy. I'm so sorry. My place is clearly not suitable for you, and there's nothing
I didn't say that.
I can offer for you. Everything you've complained about since you got here, this place is not suitable for you.
I didn't once say that.
Not much
I didn't once say that.
Everything you implies here is not good enough for you.
I didn't say that.
It's too cold.
I didn't say that once.
I'm so sorry. I can't accommodate you right now. This heating not working is not it's out of my control.
And I said that that's fine. I never said that that's not okay.
Got to her living room. To be honest and transparent with you, I really didn't like that interaction that we just had. Interaction where I tried to voice that I'm really cold. You have to be mindful of how you speak to your clients. I told you that you can't wear your shoes. No guest can wear their outdoor shoes into my house. That's fair enough. What do you want me to do? One way is, if you knew that your radiators weren't working, maybe just let your clients know for the day that, hey, I don't have heating today, wrap up warm. No, that's not my responsibility. I don't have the time. Do you know how many clients I have? I can't be telling every client that my heater is not working. Your expectations are too high. You had too high expectations. Expectations lead to disappointment. I said, oh, not even mad. Like, you ended up suggesting that I should put my coat on. Once you asked if I wanted my coat, that was great. That was customer service. That was a solution. You could have entered that conversation with the solution. I'm not saying go and fetch some wood and make me a real fire right now. Sis went on to look at what I'm wearing. Yeah, but what you're wearing is not sufficient for this cold. When you're leaving your house, you should be prepared. I am paying you for a service. I don't know what I did to this babe that made her feel like her place wasn't good enough, because in the video that I ended up recording when it just got to the point of no return, she kept on going on about this place isn't really good enough for you.
Situation. Yes, she was upset because I told you can't wear your shoes.
Yeah, but was I wrong for trying to tell you that?
I tried to offer other things and explain why things are not working.
And I said I appreciated you
seemed like you
for doing that.
The body language, everything threw me off, babe.
But
I'm so sorry, my love. I can't work under these conditions. I'm so sorry. If my place is not suitable enough for you, there's not much I can do.
I don't ever remember saying it. You're putting words in my mouth.
But it's the way you're behaving about it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Incorrect.
Body language, the same way you said my response was off, I'm telling you that your body language, the movements you were making,
that I was cold. That I was cold. It doesn't make sense.
So you're trying to say you wasn't doing nothing like that?
Yeah, no. I said I did this because I was cold, and I tried to explain to you I was cold. You even told me I'm the one that came to your facilities without preparing myself, and I said I appreciate that, but thank you for letting me wear my coat.
That's fine. Unfortunately, this appointment is cancelled. Okay.
The hair she does eats. But God, I am so grateful that she did not finish my hair. Customer service is everything. I'm not the only one that can do hair in this life. I just calmly voiced that it was too cold. And all of a sudden, that's me saying this place is not good enough. I don't know what projection that was or why she felt like that was me saying this place is not good enough for me. It's clear that it's not good enough for you since all the complaints that you've made. Guys, I made one singular.
This appointment is cancelled, okay?
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you very much. I guess I can't just say how I feel.
You can say how you feel. That's absolutely fine.
That's so crazy.
That's absolutely fine. But I think we both can learn from this then. Maybe my responses and then maybe.
But that's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, we can both.
But I was happy to from the start. I was happy to from the start.
You wasn't.
Okay. So what's wrong with resolving detention?
It's the way it's been handled. That's what the issue is.
So I shouldn't have said anything until the last minute.
I did not.
Because that was what I was thinking. I was thinking, do I wait until the last minute to say something? But then I don't want it to be a hostile environment because you're playing gospel. Like it's a good space that you have here. Yeah. But I don't. That's not okay.
If it's cold outside, you should use your common sense and dress appropriately. Oh, so maybe you should take accountability for not dressing for the weather. No problem. I'll take accountability and you don't have to take accountability for anything. I sat down and then I realized, you know what? I didn't even mean to sit down. At that point, I realized that there was no safe space for me to really say that I felt cold and there was nothing that was going to be done about it. So I just sat down and I was like, you know what? I know you have a lot of clients today, so maybe she said, yeah, no, it's not happening. I can take your hair out and then you can leave. Actually, I've got a hint to get to this weekend. It's either you finish my hair, I'm walking out like this. I'm not finishing your hair. Like we're not doing this. The energy's off. Like I don't feel comfortable. You don't feel comfortable. I cannot make this up. Even slightly feel embarrassed at the video. I can hear in my voice that I still wanted to get my hair done. So I was still trying to understand it, but really I should have left about 20 minutes ago. I'm definitely not perfect. I wanted to understand what I had done, how I could have communicated it better. It's clear that it's not good enough for you because I'm cold. Now you're talking about never have I had to cancel an appointment like this. I've never had to disclose my medical history just to justify why I'm cold. It's a first for everyone.
The second situation involves a minor, so I really do not want to show her face. The minor in question was a 15-year-old who in Maryland got her hair done by a popular TikTok hairstylist, Jayla Amora, who has gone viral before for beating up another client who she thought was going to run off on her. The only thing I can assume is that because she has experienced this before, there was a miscommunication or a mistake made with the payment. Jayla thought this 15-year-old girl was trying to run off on her. She ended up dragging this 15-year-old child by her hood, had some of her hair included, threw her on the floor, and this is the video right here.
Jayla Cunningham is charged with second-degree assault. I talked to her exclusively moments ago. She says that she did not know that her client was 15 years old. Meanwhile, I also spoke to the 15-year-old's mother, and she says that her daughter is traumatized over what happened. This video has been viewed millions of times, and she says that her daughter is viral and did not want to be. Let's explain what happened. In the video that has more than 54 million views, you can see 18-year-old Jayla Cunningham dragging her 15-year-old client by the hooded sweatshirt, saying,
Sit right here and put your mind in it. just had right? You lucky I
Jayla claims the 15-year-old was trying to leave without paying for the $150 service that included a weave with tracks. Jayla cutting the weave out of the teen's hair with scissors because she says the teen did not pay for the service.
She ran, forget tried, she ran without paying me.
And then what did you do?
I dragged her by her hood back into the salon until I can get paid, or, until the police come, or until, she let me take out the service. Because it's like she literally ran outside, like she was about to be gone. I feel like if I didn't do that, she would have been gone and I would have just never been paid.
But the 15-year-old's mother says Jayla also dragged her by her hair when she grabbed her hood and says that her daughter accidentally sent the money to the wrong Cash App and was trying to pay Jayla.
It's just absolutely absurd. It's viral. It's all over the country.
And how is she dealing emotionally with this?
Emotionally, not good. Not good at all.
The family has hired the Jackson & Associates law firm to represent the 15-year-old in a civil lawsuit.
The video is horrendous. It's a 15-year-old girl. We're talking about someone's child here, a child who is being dragged across a salon floor by her jacket for over something as simple as a mistake.
And Jayla Cunningham says that she had no clue that she was charged. We brought it to her attention tonight. She says she heard it for the first time and that she has received death threats as a result of the viral video, so she has moved her hair salon to another location. She has a first court appearance, a summons, on April 18th. As for the 15-year-old, well, her parents say she will undergo counseling.
Watching that news story and just seeing the amount of people who are defending Jayla's behavior, and even the stylist in the UK kicking out that client because the client was cold, it lets me know that the state of hairstyling in the Black community, something is wrong. The customer service is not there. And looking at the responses and reflecting on my own negative traumatic experiences, an experience so traumatic, in fact, that I actually blocked it out. And I didn't even remember until I was watching this video of this 15-year-old getting dragged. And it was so triggering to me. And I was like, why is this making me feel this way? And I was like, oh my God, I have experienced something similar. And watching so many people defend Jayla Amora and even the stylist in the UK, Mulan's hair, it lets me know that there is something wrong, that we have grown so used to humiliation and abuse and mistreatment and poor customer service in the name of styling our hair, that when these things happen, in order for some Black women to justify it in their mind, they devolve to cognitive dissonance and blame the victims in these situations. And I do think in part on Jayla's end, her posting that video was so cruel, so unnecessary, and was done with the exclusive purpose of humiliating that young girl. Because like I said, she has been doing hair since she was 14 or 15 years old. And she is somebody who brags about being a six-figure earner. She's shown videos of herself buying or leasing a Benz, saying that she's in her own luxury apartment. So this girl is, showing off videos that she's a six-figure earner, yet she is dragging a child over $150. And that right there goes to show that not all that glitters is gold, because if you are willing to crash out and ruin your entire reputation over $150, that right there is not only poverty mindset, but it is reflective of someone who lacks emotional regulation and control, a self-control, and above all else, just this rampant lack of professionalism. So I bring up her age because yes, she is 18. She is legally an adult. So people are like, oh, her and that girl are the same age. They're both teenagers. And it's like, no, Jayla is legally an adult. And that is going to have and could possibly have serious ramifications for her, if depending on how far this goes, because she was charged with second-degree assault. That is a misdemeanor that could easily be bumped up to a felony. And because the client was a child, now this is child endangerment. She didn't let the girl go. She dragged her back in the hair salon. That could be regarded as kidnapping. All of this over $150. But what bothers me about the situation is that she posted it for validation from the internet. It wasn't enough for her to humiliate this girl by dragging her. She also cut out the hairstyle. it wasn't enough for her to do those things. She then gets the video from her I know she's leasing the space, so she gets the video from whoever she is leasing or renting the space from and posts it on social media for everyone to see, thinking the response would be the same the first time she did it, because 2 or 3 years ago she did the same thing to a client. She beat up a client because she thought the client was not going to pay her, which also works against her, or what could also possibly work against her, because now this is an established pattern of behavior. This is a history of behavior before. You have a history of assault and violence and not keeping your hands to yourself. But she also has a history of humiliating people, and that is what struck me to my core. And so I posted this video on TikTok sharing my experience and the humiliation factor, which is very disturbing to me, and what so often happens when it comes to Black women, and when it comes to some Black women. I hope, like, just PS, I hope I don't have to say some Black women. I hope it is very clear that when I am saying Black women, I fully recognize that not all Black women have had these traumatic experiences. Again, I am not trying to generalize, so I want to be very clear in my language, but I also want us to understand nuance and understand that, you know, not get pedantic and not get in the weeds, and just simply understand what I'm trying to say. So I recognize that not all Black women have these horrible, traumatic, and humiliating experiences at hair salons, but so often when we do, it is done with the express purpose of humiliating the client. And that's what I address in this video right here, because the humiliation is the point.
It absolutely shows a lack of professionalism, but something that I don't think enough people are talking about is the humiliation behind what Jayla did, because the humiliation is absolutely the point. It is the same way in that UK stylist that kicked out the client who was cold, kicked her out with a needle and thread still in her hair. That was to humiliate her. It wasn't enough for Jayla to drag this girl through her salon. She had to go and find the footage, edit it, post the video on it showing her dragging this girl. And then I read that she cut out this girl's hair and even cut off some of her natural hair in the process. The humiliation was the point. And I have had my own experience with this. Stylists who do things and then who purposefully humiliate you after the fact. Like, here in DC, Northeast, I had an appointment to get my hair done. I had a sew-in and the appointment was to take out my sew-in, wash it, and get it styled. So I get to the salon and I walk in, nobody says hello to me, nobody greets me. One of those salons, cool. I walk in, I say hello, I say my name and who I am there to see. And they're like, oh, she's gonna be here in a minute, just sit down. And I was like, okay, cool. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, roll by. Nobody comes out to see me. So I went up to the reception and I said, hey, is X, Y, and Z going to be here? My appointment was supposed to start 20 minutes ago. They're like, she on her way, just sit down, relax. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and sat down. That should have been my cue to leave. But because so many of us, this horrible customer service, this lack of professionalism is so internalized and ingrained that we just know to expect it to some degree or deal with it. So 30 minutes later, she walks in, doesn't say hello to me, doesn't apologize for being late, nothing. She just walks in, says like, oh, is you Sasha? I was like, yep. And so she takes me to her chair, sits down, doesn't apologize, again, just starts doing my hair, goes right into it. And I was like, okay, I didn't say anything because her body language let me know she was not a safe person or somebody who was receptive to my feedback. But I'm frustrated, so I start texting my girlfriend and I'm like, man, you know, it took me 30 minutes to get here. I'm gonna be behind, da-da-da-da. I guess she's reading over my shoulder. She looks at my messages and she says, since I'm so rude, since I'm so unprofessional, since I'm so late, you can leave. You can leave. And it took me a second to process what was happening. So I was like, wait a minute. You want me to leave? Half of my head is done. Like, half of the sewing had been removed. The rest of it needed to go. And I was like, my hair is not done. Just finish the rest of it and I'll just take care of it myself. She was like, no, I'm not going to finish your hair. Since I was so rude, since I'm so late, you can leave. You can leave. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm not here to argue with you because, again, it just gave me like, I'm outnumbered. I don't know these women. They're very hostile towards me. I'm not trying to do this over hair. So I'm getting myself together and I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait here for my Uber to come. And they're like, no, you can go stand out there with your hair looking raggedy, with half of your hair done, looking a mess. You can stand outside. And now at this point, all of the stylists are in the salon seeing what's happening. Some of them are laughing at me. And then when I walked outside, she was like, get the out, and she slammed the door behind me and I look inside and they're laughing at me and I'm standing in the street corner. It starts to rain and half of my hair is done. You know, it was like a scene from like a sad movie, you know, they're like a tiny violin playing in the background. But anyways, the purpose of them kicking me out was to humiliate me. The same way Jayla posted that video to humiliate that girl. The same way that stylists in the UK allowed that client to leave after expressing she was cold. She allowed that client to leave with a thread and a needle hanging from her head. because the humiliation is the point. And it's very frustrating that for so many women, for so many Black women, each and every single one of us has a story like this, some type of hair story that involves some level of humiliation and trauma. And that the fact that we do this to each other is so disturbing. So yes, it's absolutely a lack of professionalism and definitely assault, not for her just dragging that girl, but cutting, if she in fact did cut out some of her natural hair, it is assault to cut somebody's hair, okay? But yeah, the point is that it was a lack of professionalism, but what is really disturbing me when I think about it is this humiliation that a lot of these unprofessional stylists put their clients through, and they know that they can do this because they know that there is a lack of just a lack of services when it comes to Black hair. You know, 3B, 3C, 4A, 4B, 4C. Right now, in the 2 or 3 mile radius, there are 10 hair salons, but I can't go to any of them. I can't just walk into some of them and trust that they'll know how to do my hair. And a lot of these stylists know that. So they know that there is a scarcity, and they're taking advantage of that scarcity. This video is getting long, but it's just like, I am so hurt for that girl, and I really and truly hope that Jayla is held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. But I also want a lot of the people who were supporting her and hyping her up, I want them to go and help her pay those legal fees, go and book her appointments, since y'all think it is okay to beat people up over $150. And I also want a lot of people, especially the Black women who are supporting her, to reevaluate and maybe think through the fact that you have normalized a certain level of trauma and humiliation getting your hair done, because because some of y'all think so little of yourselves and think that that is what you deserve and think that's what should come with a Black hair experience.
The incident that I experienced, it happened 8 years ago. And it's so funny because when I was sharing the story, when I posted it on TikTok, everybody was like, name and shame, name and shame. Why are you protecting the stylist? Why are you protecting the salon? And it's like, I am not. I literally don't think some people understand how trauma works. I left that day feeling so humiliated and just feeling really shaken up, because I didn't know if I was going to make it out of that situation without being jumped, without being beat up. Like, y'all, I would not bust a grape in a food fight. I've never been in a fight before in my life. I don't fight. Pretty girls don't fight, okay? I don't know when we got to this place where it was normalized and acceptable for people to fight. Maybe it's baddies. You know, I don't know. I don't know. But I saw so many comments being like, oh, Jayla's lucky that girl didn't beat her up. I would have beat her up too. Grown women defending this behavior. Grown women defending a child being abused. People saying that they would have done the same thing, to the point where I'm like, is it too much baddies? Is it too much Bad Girls Club? Is it too much Love and Hip Hop? Like, what is it? Because it is not a normal course of action to be throwing hands every time you get into a minor disagreement with someone. That is not okay.
Baddies is legit rotting a lot of y'all's brains. It is not a normal reaction to fight someone, to physically assault someone and start throwing hands every time you have a disagreement. Like, this is not normal to walk around with your nervous system this dysregulated and constantly stimulated. Like, a lot of y'all need to recognize that you have internalized and normalized a great amount of dysfunctional behavior, and it's not normal. Most people do not solve conflict by fist fighting or dragging people or assaulting people. That is crazy. It's not okay, especially over $150.
This behavior was disturbing to me on so many levels, and so many of the comments were like, name and shame. Why aren't you telling us the name of the stylist? Why aren't you telling us the name of the salon? I was like, I'm not telling you the name of the stylist. I'm not telling you the name of the salon to protect any of these people. I legitimately did not remember. So I actually went into my emails to try and find, because I started piecing together little details, because like I said, that incident shook me up so much that I did not remember it. This was the first time in 8 years I even processed that I experienced something like that. And I ended up looking up the salon and their name and everything like that, and turns out they're closed. So so miracles right there. Nobody has to worry about going to them anymore because they are closed. But it made me think about why so many of us are experiencing this when it comes to Black hair styling, Black hair care, just going to the hair salon. Why so many of us are experiencing this lack of customer service, this normalized abuse, this normalized mistreatment. And I honestly think it comes down to two things. I think it absolutely comes down to scarcity, and I think it comes down to the state of modern hairstyling, which I talk about in this video.
I honestly think two things happen. One, sidekick culture slash hustle culture. Instead of people to just leave certain things out of passion or a hobby or something you do on the weekends for fun, which is what hairstyling was for a lot of people, everybody started, this was around 2016, 2017. It was the decade, the era of the side gig, the era of the hustle. And what happened is people had a skill, you know, a hobby level skill that they were pretty good at. They could do pretty well, you know, to service other people, or maybe it went beyond family and friends, and they decided to take this slight skill slash hobby and make it a job. But they do not have the emotional intelligence, the temperament for it, the business acumen, the professionalism for it. They didn't go to, you know, hair school, cosmetology school. They didn't go out and get licensed. They just opened up a boutique or started taking people in their home. And so when something is when something is not a passion for you, and I don't mean this to say that every single one of us, our job has to be a passion, you know, what we're doing has to be a passion. I'm not saying that at all. But if it's not your passion, then there has to be a certain level of professionalism there. There is no professionalism there. So the passion is lacking, the professionalism is lacking. So what you have is you have people who should have left this as a side gig or as a hustle. They decided to turn it into a job. And the second thing that I think happened is hair care. It became less about caring for one's hair and just styling their hair. You know, this became the era of the weaves and the quick weaves and the wigs and who could slay a wig. It was never about caring for somebody's hair, you know, the love of somebody's hair. So you are just now offering a single service, you know, wigs, quick weaves, but you're not taking care of the integrity of somebody's hair. And so you're asking them to come in already washed, come in blow dried, come in detangled, everything like that, because you are not in it for the care of their hair. You are piecemealing these services to try and get a check. A lot of these people, a lot of these stylists are trying to do as little work as possible, make as much money as possible, while everything is front facing now, everything is on social media. So you're trying to have these stylists are now trying to have their clients pay for this image. They're trying to have their clients pay for this lifestyle. It's not about a service they are providing. It is about what they can get from the stylist. It's about what they can get from the client, not the other way around. A lot of these stylists, especially the TikTok girlies and the Instagram girlies, they do not care about providing a service. If anything, it's flipped on its head, and they think they are doing you a favor by them doing your hair. That is what is happening. Also, people are no longer going to Google to find stylists. Like I still do personally. I would never find somebody on TikTok and be like, oh, I'm gonna go to them because their work looks great on TikTok or their work looks great on Instagram. I'm still very much one of those people that will hop on Google, that will hop on Yelp and read through the negative reviews to the positive reviews. That's how I find stylists nowadays. Well, I do my hair by myself, so I really don't be going out. And the salon that I found, I really enjoy it to get my hair braided. But anyways, a lot of people are no longer hopping on Google, they're hopping on TikTok, they're hopping on Instagram. And so a lot of these stylists know that. And so if they continue to just like put all these videos and photos out there of their slayed wig, you can have one negative experience, right? But you are advertising your services to millions of people. And the people who are on the receiving end of these negative experiences, not all of us are going to take to Instagram to share a video. Not all of us are going to take to TikTok to share a video. We might hop on Google. So because of that, what I think needs to happen now is before, like you asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would never hop online. I was always so cagey about sharing bad experiences because I never wanted to put down a Black woman. I never wanted to put down a Black-owned businesses. But we now need to be catching up to technology, and we need to be going where the people are. If people are no longer going to Google to share their bad experiences or leave reviews, then we now need to be, like I said in my other video, we need to be reporting these stylists, especially licensed or unlicensed. We need to be reporting them, but we also now need to be naming and shaming, hopping on social media. Not necessarily, I don't like the shaming aspect. You can share an experience without shaming the person. So yes, when these negative things are happening, when you experience these unprofessional stylists, we need to be now going to where the people are, where the eyes are, and just sharing our experiences.
So for 2 years, I went to a white hairstylist, and how I found her was I don't look for, I think there's this misconception that a lot of people are using TikTok as a search engine. And when it comes to any type of service I am receiving on my face, body, skin, hair, whatever, I am not looking at anything TikTok. TikTok can be a great jumping off point and starting point. However, I'm still the type of person to hop onto Google to look at the Yelp reviews and read them from negative to positive, and then do the same for Google reviews. Anywhere where I can read written reviews, I am going to do that. And so this was back in 2014, I was seeing this white woman, and how I found her was I typed in on Google diva curl specialist. They work with textured hair, they work with curly hair, and while my hair is more coily in nature of 4B, 4C, while my hair is more coily, my thought process was, if I can find someone who just has some level of experience with textured hair, I can get them across the finish line together. We can get through the process. So I found this woman, her name is Meredith. She ended up leaving the salon because she got pregnant, and I guess she wanted to retire, which sucked for me because I loved her. And even though she was a different race from me and I had to explain certain things for her, the customer service was on point. She was never late. She was polite. There was just a very welcoming, warm environment. And on top of that, she was really receptive to feedback because she was saying she wants to work more with curly hair. She wants to work more with coily hair. She wants to expand her customer base. A lot of Black women, we are locked in often to Black hair salons and Black stylists because there is a scarcity that exists in a lot of communities, especially like I'm lucky to be living in a major city. However, the vast majority of Black women, if you are not living in a major city, your options are limited. And even in a major city, you know, the only reason why I started going to the Meredith was because I didn't feel like driving into DC Northeast every single time I wanted to get my hair done or taking the metro. I just wanted to be able to go maybe 10 or 15 minutes away from me and get my hair done. And so I was very grateful and lucky to find Meredith. I saw her profile. It said diva curl specialist. I called the salon. I spoke with her. I was like, do you have experience with textured hair? Do you have experience with curly hair? I like spoke to her on the phone. She was like, no, I really don't have a lot of experience with coily hair, but I'm willing to learn. So I came in for a consultation, and boom, from there, it was the start of an amazing relationship. And I always felt so safe in her chair. Never had a humiliating experience with her. But a lot of Black women, we are often locked in to going to just Black stylists because a lot of people from other racial and ethnic communities, they don't know how to do our hair because it is not a requirement that is taught in a lot of cosmetology schools. So even though in the area that I'm at, I can throw a rock and in a mile radius, I can hit 10 hair salons. There is not very likely, however, a chance that I can walk into any of those hair salons and confidently trust that somebody is going to be able to do my hair. And so because of the scarcity in people from other communities knowing how to do our hair and salons available in those communities, a lot of us are locked in. And I think a lot of stylists know that. At least in my personal opinion, a lot of stylists behave that way because they know that they know that they have the market on lock. They know that Black women are not going to be able to go elsewhere. And so if you want to get your hair done, you're going to deal with and put up with a certain level of mistreatment. And because they can treat you that way if they know that you don't have any options. You know, it's very manipulative, it's very exploitative, and it's very sad that that is what a lot of Black women have to deal with. And not only is that what we have to deal with, we have to deal with it at the hands of people who look like us. It is so absolutely frustrating. And I shared an experience in October of 2023 that also put me off to going to hairstylists for an extremely long time. And the responses that I got from people was just so eye-opening to me because so many, like, basically, long story short, actually, let me just put it in here.
Why does being a Black girl trying to get your hair done oftentimes have to be such a traumatic, disrespectful, horrible, and just downright frustrating experience? I cry when I'm frustrated, so for the purposes of this video, we'll just cut it off if that starts to happen. I scheduled an appointment for 10:15. Took me 30 minutes to get there. I get there on time, even though I know I'm not going to be seen on time because that's just the culture and nature of these salons. And I sit there for 15 minutes. No one says anything to me. The woman doing my hair, her assistant asked me what I'm getting done. And I was like, I just need a maintenance. Sit there for another 15 minutes. So at this point, it's 30 minutes I've been waiting. Mind you, my appointment is at 10:15. They know I'm there. And the person that's supposed to be doing my hair is dyeing a wig. I see someone sitting in the chair waiting. And I had already knew at that moment that I had been double booked because, again, this is the culture in a lot of these salons. So at this point, I've been waiting for 30 minutes and they finally come over and take me to get me to wash my hair. This is with the stylist assistant. The stylist finally cuts in and just goes, every time you come in here, you're in such a rush and you have to understand that the nature of the business has changed. The nature of the business, what does that have anything to do with me? And as far as being in a rush, my appointment was for 10:15.
You are now seeing me at 10:45. I patiently sat there for 30 minutes and you're telling me I'm giving you anxiety because my energy every time I come in here is in a rush. I'm giving you anxiety because I want to be seen on time. I want my time to be respected. And the crazy part is, after she told me this, that I bring anxiety into her space and I need to be patient, after me waiting for 30 minutes of being patient, I start apologizing to this woman. Here's the waterworks. I understand that there are a lot of people who enjoy spending their entire day in the salon. I'm not one of those people. If I book an appointment for 10:15, I want to be seen at 10:15. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But because I know that the culture of a lot of these places is you just get in there and you're seen whenever, I didn't say anything. And I didn't say anything for 30 minutes. But she is well within her rights to tell me that I am bringing anxiety into her space, even though that's not my intention. So even though that is not my intention, I did apologize to her. And now I also can't go back there because this is her work environment. I don't want her to have to deal with clients. I don't want to deal with clients who bring me anxiety. So I certainly am not going to go into this salon ever again to bring this woman anxiety. So if you know a place in DC that does sew-ins and is professional, please share that information. But anyways, back to the culture of a lot of these salons and what it is to be a Black woman trying to get your hair done. What we experience is absolutely rooted in racism. There are a lot of people who are allowed to go to hair school, cosmetology school, get their hair licenses, and not know how to do Black hair. In my personal opinion, if you cannot do all types of hair, you do not get the right to call yourself a hairstylist. And there's more to being a stylist than just having a license, right? There is a lack of customer service in a lot of these spaces, and a lot of Black women are the ones who deal with the brunt of it because, again, the resources are very limited. You have these stylists who are going to school, getting these licenses, but are not required to know how to do our hair. So the people who do graduate with these licenses that know how to do our hair are very few, far and in between. So you are now left with a limited supply pool, limited resources, limited options, and you get to choose between the worst of possibly the best of the worst. It's frustrating and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it for me and I'm sick of it for us. And I know somebody's going to come in here and be like, well, why don't you learn how to do your own hair? I do everything myself other than my sew-ins. So I guess now I just have to learn how to do my sew-ins. But if you are a Black girl in the DC area and you have found a stylist who is professional, who will respect your time, please let me know. Thank you in advance from one Black girl to another. And after that, I took myself to YouTube University and I said, I'm going to learn how to do my own hair. I'm honestly sick of this. So I became a freaking hair extension slayer. I be doing my own sew-ins. I do my own braid downs. Like, YouTube University taught me everything I know about when I first went natural back in 2011, 2012. That's when I learned so much about my natural hair and how to take care of it. And just 2 years ago, when I started doing my own sew-ins, when I started doing my own braid downs, YouTube University again for the win. So I have learned so much from YouTube University because I was so tired of being made to feel like an inconvenience. I was so tired of wanting to give my money to people and having people feel like they were doing me a favor by doing my hair. But anyways, when I shared that experience, what was so disconcerting to me is the amount of people that were willing to make it my fault, to say that I did something wrong. For example, so many of the comments were like, oh, well, you should expect when you walk into a Black hair salon, you should expect that your appointment or your service is not going to start on time. And it's like, excuse me? Where do they do that at? Where is it a reasonable expectation anywhere you go that the person doing your hair or providing you the service is going to be late? Like, in what universe is it acceptable for people who are making their own schedule to consistently be late? Like, what is wrong with you? You know, somebody even said, oh, when you walk into the doctor's office and they're late, do you complain? No. And it's like, if you think that there is a parallel or that doctors are equivalent to hairstylists, you have officially lost the plot and we are not having the same conversation. And so I think I just ended up like walking away from that conversation, because if we can't even start at the same place, if we can't even level set, we are not having the same conversation, and I'm just going to see my way out of this. So that was crazy. But yeah, so many people are like, oh, well, you know, I had something to do after that appointment. I couldn't be there for 4 hours. And so many people are like, oh, well, when I get my hair done, I know not to schedule anything for the rest of the day because I just anticipate that I'm going to be in the salon all day. And it's like, you know what? Wonderful. You may have the time to do that, and I generally have the time, but that's not how I want to spend my time. If I know I'm going to get a hair treatment or I'm going to a hair appointment, I think it's perfectly reasonable to budget 2 to 3 hours of my day in a hair salon and not spend the entire day there. So again, people, you're sharing this negative experience, right? This hurtful experience, this frustrating experience, and all of a sudden people are just are completely devoid of any level of empathy and try to blame you and try to make it your fault. Just the same way, recently when I shared the story about, the stylist kicking me out after she read the text over my shoulders that I sent to one of my girlfriends explaining how frustrating I was, they were like, well, why would you be texting that about a stylist? Why wouldn't you just tell the stylist? And it's like, did you not understand this person was very hostile towards me from the get-go and not a safe person for me? Like, why would I feel comfortable telling somebody this who is a very hostile person? It's like people are so quick to blame the victim and to excuse just horrible behavior. And I'm starting to wonder if and why we as Black women, so many of us have internalized, have accepted such low levels of treatment in the name of getting our hair done. I don't understand why some Black women don't think we deserve better, why we aren't worth more, because something that I honestly know and strongly feel in my heart, if that was a little white girl, if that was a 15-year-old white girl that went to Jayla, if that was Alabama Barker, who I know is, I think, 19. I think she's 19 years old. But if she was a little white girl, if Alabama Barker had went there when she was 15 or 16 years old and there was the same miscommunication or misunderstanding in payment, which come to find out, allegedly Jayla gave the girl's brother the incorrect payment, the incorrect Cash App. So she's at fault for the entire thing, the entire miscommunication. If what the news was reporting is true, she was at fault for the miscommunication with the Cash App name in the first place. But anyways, if that was a young white woman, a young white girl in her chair, I absolutely 100% do not believe she would have dragged her like that. I do not believe that situation would have gotten that far. I do not believe she would have put hands on her. There's this level of normalized dysfunction, how we treat each other, how we are so unkind to each other sometimes as Black women. And when I shared my story, there was a woman who got into my comments and said, oh, well, I've never experienced this. Where are you going? And it just occurred to me that this right here is a teaching moment when it comes to emotional intelligence. So this is what I ended up saying to her, because I do think it is important when you are sharing something, how somebody responds to your trauma or your frustration or you sharing something traumatic that happened to you. How they respond is very indicative of their character and their emotional intelligence. And I really think we need to be mindful of what we say and how we say what we say when somebody is sharing an experience with us.
How people respond when someone shares something that happened to them, positive or negative, is a sign of their emotional intelligence or lack thereof. It can also at times be a defense mechanism, especially when someone is sharing something negative. That person will automatically default to somehow finding fault or blaming the person who was on the receiving end of negative behavior, harmful behavior, because if they can create distance between that person and themselves by finding fault in something the person did or said that warranted, in their mind, that person being on the receiving end of their behavior, then they can comfortably rest in, okay, if I don't do this or if I don't do that, I won't be on the receiving end of this behavior. So they blame the individual who was on the receiving end of harmful or negative behavior rather than blaming the persons or the persons that were responsible for engaging in that behavior in the first place. I shared a negative, traumatic, harmful experience, something that happened to me, something that was so traumatic that I blocked it out of my mind and did not remember it until 8 years later, having remembered it because I'm seeing that same humiliating, harmful behavior being done to someone else. A lot of people in my comments, the ones with emotional intelligence or who could relate to that experience, or maybe who couldn't relate at all, like you yourself said you couldn't relate. However, they were apologetic for what happened to me. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. That shouldn't have happened. But you get in my comments and you make it clear that you have never been on the receiving end of this behavior ever, and you're in the DMV. So there is something that I must have been doing. There's something that I must have done. It must have been some fault in myself, something I did that makes it so I deserved that behavior, how I was treated. You are someone who lacks emotional intelligence. You are someone who lacks empathy, and you are not a safe person. And while I am glad that you have never been on the receiving end of that behavior, nobody should be on the receiving end of that behavior. If and when it happens to you, I hope that you remember this comment, and I hope that when you share your experience, the person you share that experience with, the first question out of their mouth, the first thing out of their mouth will be what you should have said. I'm so sorry that that happened to you, instead of trying to find fault with the person, with me, who was on the receiving end of this negative, disgusting, harmful, traumatic, and humiliating behavior. Please work on your emotional intelligence. Invalidating my negative experience and trying to find fault in my behavior to justify what happened to me may make you feel good about your positive experiences or the fact that you have never experienced anything like that. However, I did nothing wrong, and invalidating my experience will not keep you safe or protect you from having the same experiences someday.
None of this is the fault of the client. These traumatic, horrible, negative experiences as a result of poor customer service at the hands of these Black hairstylists, it has a lot to do with scarcity, but I also think it has to do with the level of normalized dysfunction. We have accepted dysfunctional behavior in this community and people call it culture. Just because you have done something for so long, however, does not mean you can't do something different. You don't have to hold on to this. And it is not, when I talked about fighting, I was like, it's not a normal reaction for anybody to be fighting. Somebody was like, you're speaking from a place of privilege and you're out of touch. I am privileged and out of touch because I don't think it's normal to be fighting. I don't think it's normal. It's a normal course of action to put your hands on somebody in a minor disagreement.
This is to assume that it is totally natural and normal in certain environments to get to fisticuffs at every minor disagreement. Jayla is from the DMV, as I understand it, and this situation happened in the DMV. I am from the DMV. I grew up in this area. I have never been in a physical altercation in my life. Stating that it is not normal to immediately jump to physically attacking someone or dragging someone or putting your hands on another person, that's not coming from a place of privilege. That's coming from a place of common sense. I was 18 once and I never put my hands on anybody. Do I understand that younger people lack impulse control and long-term thinking and critical thinking? Absolutely. However, even then, not every single 18-year-old is solving disagreements and misunderstandings by putting their hands on someone and stating that it should not be your instinct to physically fight someone. Stating that is not privileged. And I think we really need to really get out of this mindset where we are making excuses for dysfunctional behavior. What is absolutely out of touch to me is anyone who would try to justify physically dragging someone, assaulting someone over $150, even if it was $1,000. There is no reason to do that.
In part, how we got here again is that normalized dysfunction. It's that scarcity within the Black community when it comes to people who are able, and I won't even say the Black community because we are the only ones who seem to have a monopoly on our hair. It is a scarcity in the hairstyling industry as a whole. The scarcity in knowledge as it pertains to Black hair. That is the reason why we are often, as Black women, locked into these spaces, especially Black women who are unwilling to open up themselves to people of different races and ethnicities to do their hair. Because while I was very willing to go to a white woman to do my hair, in my comments, I saw a lot of Black women saying, I would never go to a non-Black woman to do my hair. They're not going to be able to take care of my hair the same way a Black woman would. So there are a lot of Black women who, even if there was an option, some of them may not feel comfortable going to a non-Black stylist. And that's absolutely their right. I absolutely understand that. But we are locked into being on the receiving end of this terrible treatment because a lot of Black stylists know it, and they know they have monopolized and have basically they have the entire market cornered, but also because in part because of YouTube University, because where I learned to do my hair, a lot of these girls, a lot of these young women, a lot of these stylists have learned to do hair on YouTube University as well. And so they have this skill now that instead of leaving as a hobby, they have now turned into a job or a profession, but they do not have the customer service skills. They do not have the emotional intelligence. They do not have the business acumen. They do not have the passion. They do not have the professionalism to be in these spaces. This is where we are. And while I do not unfortunately see it changing anytime soon, because social media is just going to social media, and if people are looking for these quick styles, the wigs, the hair extensions, the quick weaves, and they are trying to keep up with trends, there will always be a stylist, a TikTok girly, a YouTube stylist, one of these new age girls. They are going to be a dime a dozen. They will continue to be here, offer their services, and they're not going anywhere so long as there's going to be Black women and girls who are going to want to keep up with these trends. However, if these stylists are not motivated to change their behavior, then we have to change our behavior. 2 or 3 years ago, I would never get online and name and shame because I didn't want to. Even when that incident happened to me back in October of 2023, I didn't even drop the name of the stylist or the salon because it was never my intention, and it has never been my intention to get up and to get on the internet and flame another Black woman and drag another Black owned business, because I know it's how hard it is for us to even be in businesses, to be in these spaces and positions to where we are opening up businesses, fruitful businesses, and serving our communities. I would never want to take away from that or throw dirt on another Black woman's name. And many of us have that mentality. You know, we want to protect our own. The world is already going to beat us up. We have to already deal with such a disgusting level of sexism and racism and misogynoir that I don't want to feed that and put that out there in the universe to another Black woman. And because of that mindset, without knowing it, I contributed to this culture by protecting these women, protecting these stylists, and I am not going to do it anymore. Now, because I mostly do my own hair now and found a salon that I really enjoy, I am grateful and I am hopeful I will not be having any of these negative experiences in the future. However, in the event that it does happen, I think the way we move forward is naming and shaming. And I don't even necessarily want to say shaming, because I think you can share in experience without devolving to shaming and bashing. I think there's a way you can do that, and there's a way you can hold people accountable. So I do think we need to start naming and calling out these stylists and sharing our experiences and naming the salons. And just the same way we are naming and sharing these experiences and calling out the stylists and calling out the salons, I think we need to be hopping on Google. I think we need to be hopping on Yelp and leaving reviews. I think we need to be calling the state board, because a lot of these stylists, some of them are licensed, others of them are unlicensed, and you cannot open up a business without a license. And in Jayla's situation, I don't know if she is licensed or unlicensed, but if enough people call up the state board on her, they can shut her business down. You know, you cannot go around assaulting people. You cannot go around putting your hands on people at minor disagreements that were, come to find out, maybe very likely your fault as the professional. You know, she says she has a policy that says she only takes clients that are 18 plus, but then allegedly she takes younger clients. So it's like she kept on making a big deal about the fact that this client was only 15 and she only takes clients 18 plus. If that is your policy, you're not even following your own policy. Like, why are you not checking IDs at the door if your policy is 18 plus? And then if your policy is anyone under the age of 18 has to be accompanied by an adult, why are you not enforcing your own policy? So, you know, this girl is just very young, and I hope she is not listening to the internet. I hope she's not listening to the people hyping her up and telling her she did nothing wrong, because with that mindset, the mindset she had was the reason why she posted that video in the first place, because she posted it the first time of her beating up a client and got a very positive response from people for whatever toxic reason. And that's the reason why she felt comfortable doing it the second time around, not thinking that it was going to land her in hot water and bring her to the place where she is now. So I hope she is listening to someone who actually has her best interest in mind, because the internet will hype you straight into jail. The internet will, yes, girl, you right into a lawsuit. So I hope she is really not listening to the internet. But anyways, yeah, if we want to stop this as Black women, as Black clients, we need to be very verbal and vocal and be leaving reviews about the things that are happening and no longer protecting these clients, and also calling the state board on them. Also, what I think we need to be doing, I think we also need to be receptive to exploring other racial and ethnic groups that may have the skills and the talents to do our hair. Honestly, the last thing, I think we need to force these stylists into being better by demanding more and no longer allowing ourselves to be on the receiving end of horrible customer service. You know, the small things, I always say the small things are such an indicator of larger things. I'm at the point in my life, if and when I walk into an establishment and nobody greets me, nobody says hello to me, and if we make eye contact, because I understand people can be busy doing other things, maybe they're on the phone, and that's fine. But if you're not on the phone and you're the receptionist or you're the concierge and I walk in and you don't say hello to me, I'm going to leave, you know, at the first sign of disrespect, because the small things are an indicator of the bigger things and how the business is run as a whole. So if you can't do something as simple as say hello to me when I walk in, how are you going to handle, possibly, if God forbid, if something happens, how are you going to handle a bigger situation, a bigger dispute? You know, I no longer tolerate that level of dismissiveness, that level of rudeness, that level of disrespect that has become so normalized. And if it's one of those places where you have to put a deposit, you know, you have to make a deposit or you have to have a card on file. If it's one of those places, I now only put credit cards on file so I can dispute the charges if I need to walk out, or if I do not feel safe, or it was just a very disrespectful or hostile environment. With that credit card on file, I can just dispute the charges and get my money back. You know, if they are not going to if a lot of these stylists are not going to take the initiative to become better business women and to service Black women with care and respect, we need to demand it out of them. We need to force it out of them by declining our services and closing our pocketbooks, because the Black hair care business, it is a $1 billion industry. The money is there. The money is there. The power is in the hands of the client. And I think as Black women, when it comes to getting our hair done, we need to remember that. We need to understand that the money is in our hands. The power is in our hands. And we do not have to be on the receiving end of this behavior when we have done nothing but seek out a service that they are providing, that no one is forcing them to provide. Drop down in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on these two viral stories. What do you think is going to happen with, you know, the 18-year-old hairstylist Jayla Amora, who is now on the receiving end of second-degree assault charges? What do you think is going to come from that? Have you had any negative experiences at Black hair salons with Black hairstylists? If you haven't, I truly, with every fiber in my being, trust me when I say I truly love that for you. You are a unicorn, and I hope that when people are sharing their experiences, instead of you being dismissive, you just recognize that you are very lucky to not have had those experiences and empathize with those who have. But anyways, I want to know your thoughts. Drop down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and until next time, peace out.